I'd like to know if students who originally chose cyber school would come back to CL, ultimately saving the district a lot of money if the flexibility of remote learning remains. A choice. I think there really is potential for such an idea, and I encourage administration, board members, and teachers alike to start working towards an environment where everyone has a chance to thrive, regardless of a pandemic. I think everyone up until now was given this choice. I hope we don't can it all, and I hope above all that board members and administration hear me when I say the 9 elementary teachers that offered daily instruction to the Raybuck kids killed it. And I recognize that that's just my opinion. However, in a public school system, you tell us that percentage points tell us if a kid is learning. And the data from Raybuck Academy would show that even with a learning disability, we can navigate and improve during a pandemic. And as you ask students to return, I hope your data only shows upward trends, proving that parents made the best decision to send their kid back. Because I want the best for all students, and I hope as the last 25% transition back here, there's no negative impact on students who are already in the classroom. And above all, I hope from this point forward, as a school district, we adjust and pivot while continuing to offer an education that allows us to be proud to be a part of Clarion-Limestone. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Mabel. Before we have another public comment, Max, are we good now?
I'm trying to figure that out as we speak. It seems to be working on my computer, but I'm connected to the camera.
I got a message from somebody saying they could hear Mrs. Raybuck talking, so circumstantially that sounds good.
Okay.
You do think it's back on? Does it make a public comment?
Yes, please.
Speak really loud into the mic.
Well, is it on? Can you hear me? Everybody hear me? My name is Carrie Smith, and I'm from the Strattonville Borough. I do apologize I didn't have time to sit down and write out a speech like I heard a couple times here tonight, because I just found out about this at about 10:30 last night, that this was going to be revisited again tonight and be voted on. My children are both in elementary school. I have 2 of them, and they have been remote learning from the beginning. And I would like to say it was rocky at the beginning, but with the help of my kids' awesome teachers, they did really well this year. And they have really enjoyed the remote learning. It has been a real learning experience for everybody at our house. We are self-employed, so we can't make it work. So I do understand that there are parents out there that can't work around a schedule like we do, but it has helped us a lot, and I would really hate to see it go. I don't plan on sending my kids back for the last 9 weeks. I really hope that they can keep benefiting from this program. I think that it's a good thing for us to have the ability to do remote learning, especially for snow days, and just today finding out that we have another positive case. With that being said, if both of my girls come back and they both end up with COVID, they could shut down your entire school for a while. But with the remote learning, I think that it's a good thing, and I would really hate to uproot my kids for the last 9 weeks, and I really hate for them to not have the quality of education that they've received so far this year through remote learning, teachers working with us. Please don't take that away from them. They do like their extracurricular activities. They enjoy their teachers. They enjoy seeing their faces every single day for their meetings. And I think it's really important that they are able to do that. With that being said, I would love to see kids be able to go back to 5 days a week, because I think that's fair to parents that work and it's really hard for them. But please don't do it at the expense of the kids that can stay home. And I just really hope that you can think of that and consider our situation. And especially for the last 9 weeks, I think that it would be real unfair to uproot them, try to have to integrate them back into the school. And again, I actually agree with the last lady that spoke. I would really like to have public comment words so I can hear what you guys have to say. So, I mean, we're not bringing up stuff that doesn't matter because it's already being addressed on the stage here. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'm Kelly Hummel, I'm from Clarion Township, and I really didn't have anything planned to speak tonight, but I just feel like I need to share this story. I was making phone calls today, just making sure that parents were aware that changes are coming up, and one of them just really, I guess touched my heart. I think a lot of this has gotten to the point where people think there's either one side or the other side and stuff like that. I had a phone call today just to let one of the parents know, and I told them I wasn't in the position to advise them what they should do with their child. And it was brought up that he is a grandparent who's currently taking care of his children, or his grandchildren, I'm sorry. And his comment to me was, I just really don't know what to do. I'm torn, I don't know what to do. And he said he's 64 years old and he's in the position where he's caring for these grandchildren. He has health issues and he's really worried. And I thought he was going to end it there. He was worried about getting sick, but that wasn't it at all. He went on to say then that he's worried about getting sick because if he does, his grandchildren will end up in foster care, probably in a system where he doesn't want them to be. And that just really struck a chord with me. Regardless of my own personal beliefs, regardless of my own beliefs with wearing masks, anything. It's not about that. This is about a community. This is about what we need to do as a school district. We're not going to make everybody happy. There's no way we can come up with a plan that's going to make every single person happy. But the way things are in our world right now, I think we need to make sure that we are being considerate of other people's needs and the fears that they have in facing them. And I just felt like I needed to share that story. I don't know.
Thank you.
Doug Kepler, Union Township. It seems obvious to me that the remote students aren't getting equitable learning from the plan that I'm hearing right now. And I think before you vote, you should share with the community and the remote community in particular how much emergency relief funding the district's received so far and how much of that's been spent and what it's been spent on to help them. Thanks.
Are there any other public comments?
Lisa Miller in Limestone Township. I'm just here today to say that whatever decision that is made, whether it be 5 days or continuing with the 4 days and remote Wednesdays, can we please just keep it through the end of the year, whatever the decision is? We have had this back and forth now since December, and I think it's time to just make a decision, whichever way it may be. I'm good either way. We have one that's coming to school, we have one that's doing remote learning. They both chose to do it for different reasons. It is what it is. We're okay with it either way. But 2-3 times a month to come back and forth to debate which we're going to do, it's kind of getting old. So whichever way you choose. Some people are fine with 5 days, some want 4 days, some want remote learning. You're not going to make everybody happy no matter what you do, but can we please just tonight pick a plan and stick with it through the rest of the year so that everybody knows what's going on. That's it.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments?
Hello, Sheena Smith, Clarion, sorry, I'm kind of nervous. I just would like to keep what we're doing now, Monday, Tuesday, remote Wednesday, come Thursday and Friday. Give more time to the teachers, and us having off Wednesdays helps the teachers and helps if we get cases to clean the school up. I really think there's not much time school left to keep it the way it is. I have a 5th grader and I have a 2nd grader, and they're fine where we're at. I'd really appreciate you keep it the way it is. School's about done. And it will help the teachers and everybody out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Kayla Grant, Strattonville Borough. I am in support of the 5 days a week, and the only reason why I'm saying this, I have 2 kids that are in the younger grades, kindergarten and 1st grade. Both of my girls have amazing teachers, and it's great. But I do notice kiddos that might need a little extra help in the classroom. Like my oldest daughter who, she's in 1st grade, she has autism. We've been working through with the teachers, Mrs. Taylor, everybody, everything we can for her. But when I see her grades slipping so bad, from the beginning of the year when we started out going, like, I'm seeing C's, D's, F's for a 1st grader. She sits there and she gets frustrated. Like today, we had so many meltdowns over spelling words because she just can't, it's too much. I get it, remote works for some people. I'm a stay-at-home mom, so I can do that. Luckily, I can help my girls. But I'm splitting my time between the 2. And like I said, when I'm seeing my 1st grader who missed the last 3 months of last year, which a lot of the stuff that they missed from last year, and they're adding on to this year, I'm seeing a big difference in like my 2 daughters. Like my kindergarten is almost able to do my 1st grader's work, and she's very smart, but there's that big gap that they're missing, and they need that extra support in the classroom if they are struggling a little bit. I can only just say from my perspective and from my home, we need the 5 days a week. If somebody wants to be remote, that's their prerogative. But really, really think about it, because I'm seeing a lot of my other friends that have kiddos have ADD or a diagnosis that are really struggling because they can't. It's like they can't connect. I don't even know, I can't even explain it. You just have to be there and watch the child struggle. And when you have sat there and you've done everything you possibly can, buying manipulatives, sitting down, doing flashcards constantly, if it's not clicking and they don't have that extra help from Title I, those Wednesdays, they don't have that. They don't have that extra help. They don't have one-on-one with another teacher that they can get, where they can get at school. I know that's what we're leaning on right now is a lot of one-on-one help. So just please think about your decision. And I understand everybody, but 5 days a week, I'm really hoping that you guys do, because I'm hoping that I can send our child to 2nd grade knowing that I'm confident that she's going to succeed next year. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments? Okay, moving on to item A. Before we consider the administrative recommendation, I'd like to ask Amy Glasshoff, Superintendent, to give a presentation as to what exactly that proposal is.
I'm going to be presenting down there. I apologize for the board members that maybe can't see it, won't be able to see it, but you'll be able to hear what I'm saying, and I think that would be good enough. Mr. Lowry is putting, I'm going to take my mask off as well, just because of myself over here. Mr. Lowry is putting this on so the people at home can see it. I know not everybody's going to be able to read it and see it, obviously. Please know that this will be going home to the homes, to all parents, the community. It will be on the website. We'll be sending it through the classroom, Google Classrooms. I'll be making phone calls or doing our school-wide messenger. So you will see this again. So don't, I really think it's very simple and to the point, and if you just listen and allow me to present, I think it'll be very clear what the plan is. Before I start, I would like to say and share that there were 2 breaking news items today from Governor Wolf, Department of Health, and PDE. In case you did not see the live presentation by the governor and many others, there were 2 agenda items that were discussed. The first one was the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is going to go to teachers. They have made that decision in Pennsylvania that anyone associated with education, meaning bus drivers, contractors, classroom aides, substitutes, custodians, they will be given the opportunity to have that vaccine as early as next week. Our district was very lucky because we, those that have chosen, have gotten the first shot, and our next shot, our final shot, is next Wednesday. So we were one of the fortunate school districts that already had that in place, but I can tell you there were many, many, many superintendents, sleepless nights trying to get these vaccines for their teachers. And that is one of the concerns the Department of Health had. It is not mandatory, but it will be offered as soon as next week. The teachers were given a survey, the staff, today. So I just want to tell you that that is happening, right from the governor. The second big news item that was shared by the governor and his group was why. Why are you taking the Johnson & Johnson vaccine and giving it to the school teachers, to the teaching environment? And Governor Wolf's answer was, we want to get our kids, kindergarten through 12, back to school in person sooner than later. Now you know where he's been along this trail, and you know where we've all been along the trail, and I know where all of you have been along the trail. And his announcement today is to help us achieve that goal. The part of that announcement that also came out was that Department of Health and PDE together updated their instructional model today. And they're making it consistent with what the CDC has said. And I quote, you can find this on the internet, we now, this is DOH PDE, we now recommend public schools in counties with low transition consider returning all to in-person instruction. Their definition of full in-person learning, the PDE, is this. School is open each day with in-person instruction for all students, with some students and staff in a remote setting as health and safety concerns require, which I will discuss in my presentation. Now the plan. The administration has built this plan. We have heard concerns from the board. We've heard concerns from parents. We've heard concerns from students, although that is questionable, but we have. I'm admitting we have talked to students. I am ready now to share our plan. I'm going to go down here now. The plan is to return to 5 days a week. Okay. The goal for March 16th, which is a Tuesday, is to get all our students back to in-person learning. That's our goal. There are 3 simple expectations. Remote learning is not going away. I'm kind of felt like some of the people that we're talking think that, because I'm not sure this presentation is just now being shown. Some of the board members haven't even seen this presentation yet. So to assume things, I agree, you will assume things that you hear, but I'm here to tell you what the plan is. And the plan is you choose either in person 5 days a week, or you will choose remote 5 days a week. You will not go back and forth. If you choose to be remote, but after the first week you want to come back, we're always welcoming you back. We'll always welcome kids back. But if you come back, you're not going back to remote. Again, because you didn't like a teacher or what they said. Okay, so no bouncing around is what I'm saying. So 5 days a week, that's your choice. The lessons for remote learners and in person are going to be synchronous. That means the teacher teaches the lesson and the video is on for the kids at home that are remote to watch the lesson and be interactive with the lesson and be on time and be in school at home, but on school hours. There is some exceptions for some safety issues, such as phys ed, or wood shop, those kinds of things. And the only other third big expectation is daily attendance, which means if you're going to be a remote learner and you are going to be at home, you're going to be synchronous with your teacher when they are on teaching, and you will be there. You're going to be, it's not just you do a ticket and you can go do your work when you want. You have to be attending. In high school, you will attend each class period and you will be taking attendance each class period. So that if Johnny Smith wants to sleep in, he can't. He has a class at 7:30. Now, there are exceptions when you are sick. Just here, when your kids have a doctor appointment or sick, you bring back a doctor note. And those things will be explained and done the way we do as we were in person. How do teachers prepare for full synchronous learning by March 16th? And what will be shared to our teachers on our remaining remote Wednesday, next Wednesday? First, very important part, and I'm not sure was conveyed well enough, is Grade levels and departments will meet with building administrators to discuss the nuts and bolts and logistics. High school teachers will be trained on taking attendance for each class period. They don't do that now on our electronic system. That's going to happen whether we do this plan or not. That is safety for our school district. So that's going to happen no matter what. So we're going to just start it now. And if we don't do this plan, we're going to start it anyway, Mr. Aaron, on the 16th. All teachers will have a review of the sick doctor-parent excuses for those remote learners. We'll review how that goes. Synchronous learning can be practiced. I know all of our teachers have done synchronous learning. Am I correct, Mrs. Taylor? Yes. They may not be the best at it or may not like it the best way, but they're capable of doing it. And our new computers will be given out to those students with a parent one-on-one agreement. I am having the worst time. Okay. What do teachers need to do by March 16th? They need to practice, watch, learn, synchronous learning. If you want to go watch another teacher in a grade level or a teacher across the street teach a lesson synchronously, we will have subs for you to do that. You can go do that, and we will offer that to you for that help. Plan out any extra help that you will need so that we can prepare our subs and get those and bolts figured out. Number 3. I will be asking the administrators and everybody that can hear this and see this to call your parents and talk to them. At this point in the school year, as a teacher, you have connected with every parent and every kid. You have they trust you like nobody else. So we are going to ask you to call them and talk to them about coming back and what it's going to be like if they do stay home. But the point is, we want our kids here. We have the mitigations in place, and we are in moderate. We may be in low week. And according to what the governor said today, they want everyone in-person learning. So it may happen, whether the board votes for it or not, it could just happen anyway with the governor saying, we're doing this. Or it could just happen because that's what the mandation is to do. So if I'm a second grade teacher and I have all my students back in my classroom, there is no remote teaching. You don't have to turn on anything. You're done. You're back to a year ago. I can't believe it's March 5th, 2021. We're back to a year ago of what teaching was like. I am certainly not dismissing a student that has a medical concern or is living with someone who cannot get the chance of having COVID. And the governor talked about that today. And he brought up the latest statistics that the little ones are not the ones carrying it either. That has been coming out. And he is worried about those older generation that are taking care of our students. But the research is coming out now is showing that is not as prevalent as they thought. With having the teachers inoculated, that was more of the concern. So if there is a problem or a medical reason why a student can't come back to school, we will always work that out with the principals and those parents. I will never say, sorry, your grandpa, it's just going to have, it's what it is, you're just going to have to come back. I'm not going to do that. The grandpa that Kelly talked about today, they can stay home. They can stay home with, and they just need to be on with school. He talked about how they love to see the teacher. They're going to see her. Still be home. Nothing really changes for them. What do parents need to do by March 16th? If your child is currently in school learning nothing, you can just say, you need to look at this. Don't do anything. And just be ready for 5 days. Not next week, but the week after. If your child is currently a remote learner who is ready to come back now, tomorrow, Friday, Monday, call the principal. They can come back any time. They do not have to wait till March 16th. If you have a remote learner who you don't want to sack till March 16th, but you want to send them back then, you will be calling the principal to tell them that. And if your child is currently remote and wants to stay remote, the next slide is for you, because there will be requirements for those remote learners. Number one, you will need to be logged in each day for each class. All lessons will be taught live and not recorded. I did not say the teacher couldn't record their live lesson. I encourage you to record your live lesson, teachers, because you've done it for 9 weeks. You certainly would be beneficial to have it for the 4th 9 weeks. It will be beneficial as well, and we haven't gotten into the nuts and bolts. I know that some teachers were anxious today, but part of this is if a student is on a trip in April for a week, I have no problem. Your administrator will have no problem with you recording your live lesson and giving it to them to watch later on their trip. We're not getting rid of remote. We're not getting rid of devices. We're not getting rid of technology. I have said that from the beginning. So the next thing, you will need to access your Google. For your teachers, you will still have remote learners 24 hours to do your work. If you're sick and you miss a couple classes, we have that process. Send in or take a picture of the excuse and it gets marked. Our secretaries are wonderful at this. They've got it down pat. And if you decide, remote learner, that you want to come back after a couple weeks of this, you can come back. Call the principal. Come on back. And this is the part where I was going to talk about what we were saying about remote's still here, and it needs to still be here. And we will be using this strategy next year for a variety of different situations. And one of them is this. I taught no changes back and forth. The only exception is, again, the student that wants the 5-day remote but doesn't like it and wants to come back, just come back. If a student tests positive for COVID, you received the letter today, and there is contact tracing that is occurring. And yes, there were students who were put on quarantine from this situation. They will now, if this is after March 16th, and they do it now anyway, they go right to your Google Classroom and do your stuff that you've been creating wonderfully on those Wednesdays. That's seamless. That will still happen because as of March 16th, the lessons will all be live and they will be able to go home, be quarantined, and have school live. If, someone mentioned this, another reason that we may need to go remote is if the whole school or the whole district has to be. I am very confident in the travels that we've made in a year, and that was the reason for remote Wednesdays, and we celebrate what you have done. I am very confident at this time to say that we are ready for 5 days of in-person instruction for all students. I am also very confident and ready that if I get a call tonight and we can't be in school tomorrow or the next day, I am confident that the students know exactly what to do. That was why we were doing Wednesdays too. And if we do that, the teachers will be live, teaching those lessons after March 16th, if that happens. So, are you ready for some school, back with your friends and your teachers? Thank you for listening. I apologize for it being a little longer than I wanted it to be, but when I get passionate, that's what happens.
I'm going to try something and ask, are there any community members who have questions about the plan based on what they just heard? Ma'am, do you want to come down so we can hear you?
I'm sorry. Is this still on? Yes. I understand that you're planning on keeping the remote learning, but with sending the kids back, I mean, the ultimate goal is to put everybody back in school, right? You want them here. Has the 6-foot distancing rule gone away?
I am glad you asked that because I have something to share. When we're in substantial, we made sure that was happening. We had to, because we had to sign, when we signed that attestation form to have kids in during substantial, we had to maintain that, and we did. When we're in moderate, you are allowed to use our desk shields. We call them sneeze guards.
Okay.
And I found it in writing today. I thought I had it with me, and I probably do, but that 6-foot distancing when it is possible. There is those words in there. But the part that I really, really want to stress is that was the first time, and it's new, that was the first time I actually saw it in print where they actually said the sneeze guards. If you can't do that, the sneeze guards are a protection when you're in moderate. I'm considering in low, I'm not sure, I think the masking won't go away, but I'm thinking that those would even go away at that point. But that's another thing, we get updates all the time.
With that in mind, So the 6-foot distancing hasn't gone away, but it does, if you have everybody coming in, you are not gonna be able to social distance, and you're gonna have to put sneeze guards up, right, in the rooms. Is that what I'm understanding? Or are we gonna be putting kids in other rooms to watch? I'm just kinda
That's a
trying to
great
understand.
question. No, you're not gonna have overflow rooms, no.
Okay. But we'll have sneeze guards up.
Yes,
So how many kids are in a classroom normally?
oh, it varies.
Okay. Do we have any classrooms that are set up with sneeze guards? And have you guys looked, is that something that's happening? Does it affect the kids that are in the back of the room, or how's that?
We're already, that we used them in November and October.
Mhm.
And at this point, when we went back to moderate, the teachers and students started using them again. So in the classrooms that are not able to 6-foot distance, the students are using the sneeze guards.
Okay, does it affect how the kids are learning and how well they're able to hear at the back of the room? Because if you're bringing all these kids back, the last 25% of the student body, I would think that you're gonna have more younger kids that are going to have that issue. You're gonna have sneeze guards up, and you're gonna have that in front of them. I would think that it would affect, I mean, I'm just saying this because it wasn't long ago that I did see a video online that there was, the school board went ahead and put up these plexiglass dividers, and it was a view that I wouldn't want my kids learning in. I would think that it would be a hint to be able to learn well for kids that can't hear. And I don't know, did she say we're getting rid of the mask, or we're keeping the mask behind the plexiglass as well? I would just think that a large group of people with a lot of plexiglass and a lot of face coverings is going to affect how well kids can hear in a classroom and how well they can learn. And it was tunnel vision, and I mean, she was sitting in the back of the classroom, and it was just tunnel vision straight to the front of the room, and you couldn't see. So I don't know, I've never been in the classrooms with your sneeze guards up, so I don't know how big they are or what they look like, but I would just think it would affect the learning environment and not be something that I would want to sit in all day long. It'd be like a cubicle.
The accommodations that we have to employ to satisfy the requirements are not ideal to anybody, but we do what we're told to do.
Right.
And that changes, and so nobody can give you a definitive answer because we don't know what's coming down the road. But do you have any more questions about the presentation of land?
Well, I'm just curious as to how the social distancing would work and whether there would be overflow rooms, because that is something that was talked about, but I didn't see that was addressed with this particular presentation. So, and with that, I guess I would just also like to know, when are you going to give teachers extra time to be able to adjust to this? Because it is a big adjustment, I would think, bringing in a bunch to readjust that have been home for most of the year. Are the teachers going to be given extra time to prepare? I know you want them to record during their classes, but there's other material that goes with that, that's uploaded to every class that we have. When are the teachers have that time? Are they going to be given more time to the people that do stay remote, I guess,
My
where
understanding, and Amy, you can jump in or take the mic from me.
maybe I just missed it and didn't.
I don't know if I heard it in your presentation, but I understand from the discussions that we've had is that we are hiring, the different building administrators are hiring, retaining substitutes as the needs are identified by either the administration or the teacher. They would be hiring the substitutes to take over responsibilities that can be transitioned to the substitute, so that the teacher would then have more time, more flexibility to address the additional items that you referenced.
Okay, so are we gonna have a permanent substitute teachers then, that the teachers are gonna have to work with then to kind of train them and what they need to do and how to get it up, or how, or I guess I would think that the teachers would still need to be interactive with these
I couldn't hear the end of what you said, but the issues, as I understand it, is different building administrators, Christy and Mel, are working with their different department heads and teachers in general, if, again, it's sort of on-off scenario. You're talking about the nuts and bolts of how each individual class, each individual setting, I assume, my understanding is going to be different. So we can't tell you one particular scenario, and that be the case for everybody.
Okay. I guess I just want to make sure that they're still able to provide a quality remote education as if we do go into 5 days a week, that they're going to be given plenty of time and ability to be able to put the stuff together that they do already. I just want to make sure that the remote is going to continue at the high quality that it is right now.
The educational law states that children need to have the same curriculum as if they were in person or on remote. And they will be getting the curriculum of the CL teachers, and in remote or in live.
Okay. All right, thank you.
I think we'd like to be able to answer a little bit of her question since we're here. And I know our concern all along has been this nuts and bolts thing. And I know I made a comment a couple weeks ago about how and thank you so much for coming to have that conversation. These are the things that we have been craving for people to come to us and talk to us about. Nuts and bolts. These are important things. It's not just waving your hand around and saying, make it happen. We want to make it happen too, and we're trying to do it to the best quality we can. We take it incredibly seriously. We love our job, we love our kids. And those nuts and bolts, you know, what is it, devil in the details or something like that? You're the English person. So that's what we're interested in. You know, we want those details. What can we do? What can we do? Not what would be great to do, but what is it we can do? And she's right, her concern with the shields. I have spent months since the beginning of the year moving desks, trying to make the shields. Mrs. Kepler, I can't see. I know you can't see, so I'm moving desks, moving shields. I want these kids to be safe. I want them to see. I teach science and social studies, and I'm like a juggling act anymore. You know, here's materials, guys. Yeah, here's the materials. Hey, this is what we're doing. Can you see what we're doing? I spend my entire day like Tinkerbell running around trying to make sure that everybody can see, because that's why they're there. Now I'm adding the burden of, I want those remote kids to be engaged. I take it seriously because science is important. Knowing about their life is important in all aspects, and how can I provide that opportunity that makes sense, and it's relevant, and it's important, and it's engaging. So it's one more thing I'm trying to figure out, nuts and bolts. And we have been engaged this much in that discussion. That is the truth of it. Nobody's asking us. Nobody's asking us, except we have a few dear parents that they're not here because we asked them to be here. They're engaged with their kids' education, and they know we're passionate about it too. And you know, thank you for showing up. I mean, that means so much to us. We're working hard. We know this isn't ideal. We know this is hard for everybody here. You know, I wished we could get everybody to listen. Thank you, Rebecca, the time to do that a few weeks ago. We had a great conversation. It was refreshing, it was honest. Talk to the kids, my the fifth graders, right? You want to talk about kids that are bright and knowledgeable about their own circumstances. They can advocate for themselves. They're 10 and 11, and they're honest. Sometimes crazy so, like they're like, oh, I can't believe you just said that. But they would tell you what works and what doesn't work. And I wished you would come in and talk to them, because you'd be amazed at what they have to say. And we're trying to take that into consideration too. But we need that conversation, and we need to talk about what nuts and bolts. That's you know, thank you. That was the entry we needed.
Just before we go to another one, And I appreciate your feedback, and I appreciate your perspective. But again, we're done with public comment, so we have to get the meeting moving.
Just wanted to answer the question, that's all.
So if you have a question, again, if there's members of the public that have questions, that's fine. If it's an employment issue, the building administrators will be addressing your questions in a different forum. But if you have a question about the plan, please ask it.
Yeah, I do. I'm addressing the fact that we talk about synchronous. It's just now going to be synchronous, like that's magic, like you just magically make that happen. A while ago, we were requested to provide Zoom opportunities for ELA and math for our students. Then we were required to provide Zoom opportunities on Wednesdays for our students. We have done all of those things. A majority of our remote learners do not engage in the Zooms, have not engaged in the Zooms, I'm going to assume because it does not work for them and their families. Students, have to have our lessons posted at 6 p.m. Students do it at night. Students are with grandparents during the day. Students wait for parents to come home from work to do their schoolwork. So just saying everybody's synchronous, just going to be synchronous, changes what we have done since the beginning of the school year. And so I'm concerned for those remote students that doesn't work for, but that still need to, for medical reasons, for whatever reasons, we're not here to debate it, need to remain remote. Making it synchronous doesn't make it better for those students.
Thank you for the comment. No, I think we're done. I think we're done with the questions.
I really have a question.
We're going to be done. If there's not a question, we're done. That's two different things. Weren't questions. I'm trying to put a good faith option out there for people who generally have questions and want to understand the presentation. But we're done with public comment. We understand that the teachers have concerns and issues, and we look forward to showing them that we're going to address them, but it's not the right time for that.
My question is regarding the timeline, since I have a student that attends this school district, my personal child. I just want to make sure I'm understanding. The 10th would be the rollout to the educators, then the 11th would be the practice day. I think that would mean that as the teachers, we would communicate with we would practice the synchronous with the students. And then there's no school on the 12th or 15th, correct?
Right.
And then, so my question is, so then on the 16th, everything is rolling?
I'm glad you asked that, because no, that is what will happen.
Okay.
Tomorrow, you will start to get information from your building principals at times to meet, starting tomorrow. When I say practice it or start it, it starts tomorrow. Like, the whole plan for remote learners to come back will be the 16th, where everybody will be synchronous. So no, you'll be getting things along the way.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Like, we're not waiting till next Wednesday to tell you anything or to plan anything. We need to know now, like tomorrow.
Right, that was my question.
Like tonight.
Because that was the date shared in there, so that was my question, that
Yes.
things were going to move very quickly.
Yes.
And my question was, is it better to marinate on it so we can do it properly rather than on a dime? So that was my question.
Okay, moving forward, I'd like to ask I guess I should recap briefly. We had the infamous February 10th meeting that a lot of you remember. The conclusion of that was that we talked about, there was a committee appointed to have some good faith discussions with the leadership of the teachers union, and Mr. Dave Eglinton was the chairman of that, and I would like to have him give a summary for the board of what went on since the last meeting.
Okay. This is work there. All right, I'll try without the mic. If you can't hear me in the back, wave. I'll try to get the mic to work. I don't think anybody's ever had a problem hearing my voice, but.
It could be the people at home, Dave.
Oh, you think they want to hear it too? Okay. We had two good faith meetings with the teachers. The admin were at both meetings, one in the meeting and one not in the meeting. The first faith meeting was Tuesday, I believe it was the 23rd. My dates might not be exactly. But we asked teachers to come up with a plan for 5 days instruction without losing an hour of education. Now, before we went into these meetings, the board collected some information, and one of the most alarming information we collected was, what was our students' grade like during remote learning? And respectively, these are remote students. Over 40% in one school were failing that were on remote, and over 60% in the other school that were on remote were failing, that were full-time remote students. I'm not getting into exact numbers, but then the second was over 50 and over 65. So that was very alarming for us board members, and I did share that at our meeting at the Good Faith meeting with teachers and the rest of the board. After approximately 3 hours of discussion, the first meeting, and we had good discussion. I mean, when you're having a meeting like that, you're not going to always agree. You're going to agree to disagree. And after 3 hours of discussion and even some time when we spent alone, where the teachers met and the board met and come back together, the teachers come up with an original plan. All students go to our cyber program, and we hire people to run the cyber. Kind of alarmed me, but what I said after the board then took 10 minutes to get their thoughts together, and we come back and said, okay, but this is your plan. You own it. Legal and the cost of doing this, and then we adjourned. And thankfully I got a call from their union rep either 1 or 2 days later saying, after the teachers discussed this with other staff, they'd like to withdraw that. And I said to Julie, good, because that was, in our estimate, what would be best for the students. So we don't think getting rid of remote is best for the students. And we at no time had a plan on getting rid of remote. At the second meeting was last night, and Julie and I had conversation a couple times. But before the second meeting last week, after they withdrew their plan, I had got a hold of Mr. Parker, our board president, and I asked him to check with the administration to see if they were comfortable coming up with a plan that would be 5 days a week without losing an hour of education. And you got to understand from the board standpoint, we were very alarmed at how many students were failing. So we met at 6 o'clock last night, and I asked, did you guys come up with anything else as far as a plan where we come back 5 days a week, and my stipulation has always been without losing an hour of education? The answer I got was, keep it the way it is, Wednesdays off, or send the students home 1 hour early every day. So that would mean losing 5 hours of education time if we did that, plus disrupting schedules for parents who work and everything. So at that point, brought the administration in to present the plan they were comfortable with. At that time, the board had not seen the plan. The teachers had not seen the plan. It was presented by our 4 administrators, which 3 of them are here tonight. Mel had another commitment. And they presented the plan. After the plan was presented last night, the teachers had asked for a few minutes to bring some questions together. So again, we broke for about 20 minutes. And Amy and Jason and Chrissy and Mel showed us the same PowerPoint that everybody's seen today. Okay? So after we broke about 20 minutes, to let them get their requests together, let us ask some questions. The teachers and union rep and all of us got together, and for about 40 minutes, there was questions asked. What if? How's this going to work? What if? And I know that one person said about the nuts and bolts, but that's up to the teachers' administration to plan that out, the board. The board is to set the policy. We're not the educator. The board is to make the vote, make the ruling. We're not the educator. So I know that I used that phrase last night that we're not gonna get into the nuts and bolts of it. That's between the administration and the teachers. You guys have to tell the administration where you need to help, and they've already assured me that they have subs lined up already and they've already been working. Am I correct on that? Yes? So, after 40 minutes of that, I finally said, well, listen, we're going to go into a meeting tomorrow night. I'm asking the teachers to get behind the plan so that we can be united as a school district. Even if it takes an extra week, and we move that date back to the March 16th date, from March 16th back. But obviously, from here tonight, that didn't matter. There would not be a good date. So, I mean, there was lots of time for questions. The board is not, I recommend that the board does not get into the nuts and bolts of it. We hire administrators, we trust our administrators. We hire teachers, we trust our teachers. All I'm saying is the two of you, if you guys don't want to unite with us, get with them and get the nuts and bolts worked out. So after all that being said, I don't think I've missed anything. After all that being said, from the Good Faith Committee, we recommend that we go with the plan for 5 days a week, starting effective March the 16th.
Thank you, Dave. With all that background, the plan from Amy, the explanation, the report, item A on the agenda, do I have a motion to adopt the recommendation of the committee?
I make a motion that we accept this proposal.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
I second.
Motion and a second. Are there further discussion among the board? Mr. Sproul?
Yeah, to add to what Mr. Eggleton said and some of the questions that the parents had, looking at the grades before we got them, had friends in another district, I'm not afraid to say it, Kiski area, 3,600 students, 11.5% minority. Last year in February, 82 students, 2% of their student body failing one or more subjects. This year, they have 390 some students failing 11%, and I thought, that's awful. And I said, I wonder what ours are like. And so we got the grades a week later, and I'm going to be more specific. But with our remote students, at the end of the second quarter, 55% of our students, of remote students, were failing one or more subjects. 618 of the 4,300 grades were incompletes. In high school, 48% of our students are failing one or more subjects. Of all our students, almost 50% of our students at the end of the second quarter are failing one or more subjects. This is not good. It's a disaster. This has not worked for the majority. I mean, we had in some places, in some of our remote classes, 100% failure. And so that's why I am in support of this. Also, a question was ask the students. Well, today I did. I went to one of our centers. They were all CL kids. I went in, I asked the supervisors, can I ask the kids, how's it going? You having fun today? Blah, 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 all that stuff. I said, how many of you are enjoying your remote day? One said, well, it's okay. I like it. Majority all said, we hate it. We want to be back. One was indifferent. So I did ask the kids. They said, we can't stand it. I don't even want to be here. I want to be back. And so that's why I'm in agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Sproul. Is there any board member who wishes to speak against the motion? Is there anybody else that wants to offer comment or discussion in favor? Donna, let's have a roll call vote, please.
Rebecca Adams?
Yes.
Motion passed. Item B on the agenda, you guys can see that it's about the authorization to retain an additional counsel, Carl Beard Legal Group. Do I have a motion to approve that?
Make a motion to approve.
Motion and second. Is there anyone who would like to have discussion or speak for or against? Roll call vote, please, Donald.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion passed. Item C, we have an open position on the board for the position of vice president. Before we vote on it, obviously we need nominees. Are there any nominees for vice president?
Yes.
I like nominate Rebecca Allison.
There's a motion or a nomination for Rebecca. Is there a second?
Yeah, second.
There's a second. Are there any other nominations? Rebecca, if so nominated, will you serve?
I will.
I only plan to miss the next half dozen meetings.
Thank you for asking.
I asked that question first before I voted. Okay, we have a motion, a second. No further request for discussion. Could we have a roll call vote, please, Donald?
Yes.
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 Motion passed. All right, now we're going to move into our interviews for the candidates for the open Region 2 seat that was created by Mr. Shermer's resignation. I'd like to ask the four candidates, I believe they're all out there, if you would please come down in front and stand in front of the microphone.
Can you turn the fan off back here, Bob?
Okay, obviously we'll try to go slow if we have to, make sure everybody can hear. How this is going to work is all the board members were asked about questions. You guys have in your packet a list of questions. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through and ask the question, and then we're going to ask each of you to provide an answer one at a time to the same question. And we're going to go in different orders, different questions. So you might be first on one question, and you're going to be last on a different question. Don's in charge of making sure I don't screw that up. At the end of the list, there's 10 questions on the list here. At the end of that, then I'll open it up to the board members. And again, then you may ask any question you want. Whatever question you ask is obviously going to be answered by each of the candidates.
Dave, you can't turn the fan off.
I didn't think so.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Thank you, Bob.
And I guess I forgot to state too, I would like to ask you, if you want to, you don't have to, but if you'd like to make an opening statement, if you would like to do so, please do this. So now, Donna, why don't you give me an order or tell me who to call? I see Mr. Boozer, you're first on the list. I see. Would you like to make an opening statement?
Yes, please.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to start by thanking the board for considering me for this open position. I reside in Limestone Township with my wife and daughter, who is in the elementary school. I'm a homeowner and therefore a taxpayer, and we have lived there about 3.5 years. We specifically sought a house within this district due to its excellent reputation. I work for the DEP as an environmental projects construction inspector and also with the Commonwealth as a whole for the past 8.5 years. I'm planning on being on the ballot this year, so this is not, I'm not considering this to be a temporary thing. As you are all aware, this is often a thankless job, but nevertheless, one that, if chosen, I will not take. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on my list is Mrs. Robin Henry.
Hello, I am Robin Henry. I reside in Limestone Township. I have lived in Limestone Township for 42 years, so my entire life. I have 2 children that go to CL, one in the high school, one in the elementary. I'm a graduate from Clarion-Limestone, so I feel that the more things get worse here, the more I want to be a part of trying to make CL what it was when I went here and what it was when I substitute taught here for 6 straight years. So, that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Next on my list is Mr. Larry James.
I'd like to thank the board for this opportunity. As most of you know, I have probably attended more school board meetings than possibly anybody here except for Dave Eggleton. And I've done that because I care deeply about this school. My wife is my daughters go here. I've been a taxpayer for 24 years. I serve on the CL Foundation as treasurer with Joe Balot. So I've been very active and very vocal in the school. And I am not going to be on the ballot in the spring, which to me makes it a little bit easier than it doesn't give an advantage to someone that may be on the ballot, with all due respect. But, you know, I want to help make a difference and help move the school district forward. And I have sat through many of the long meetings here, but I just want to see us move forward as best possible. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. David Louder, please.
I too want to thank you for the opportunity. My name is David Louder. My 3 children graduated from CL. My father taught here way back. I'm a Clarion area graduate. I've coached in baseball and football in the area. I teach at Union School District. I believe that that gives me a perspective that can benefit both the board and teachers union in coming together to rectify certain situations. Regardless of being an educator, I'm open-minded to all information and want to make the best decisions for the children of this district and moving forward to make CL more positive, both in the community's eyes and the board's eyes. I am running on the ballot this upcoming election, and I wanted to take this opportunity to get and dig in and find out more about the policies so that we can better make decisions going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now I'm going to start down through the list of questions, and there's going to be some overlap. So, again, if you've already stated the answer, you can repeat yourself or indicate something additional. Question number 1 on the list is, why are you interested in serving on the school board? To the extent you haven't already answered that. Don, who do you want me to start with? We'll start with Mr. Boozer.
As I did state previously, as a parent, I want the best education for not only my daughter, but for all children here. I feel it is important to have a good parent representation on the board. Thank you.
All right, we're going to follow the same order. So, Ms. Henry? Or Mrs. Henry?
He won't care. I want to be on the school board because I care. This is my school district. This is my home school district. I live in the township. I have kids that go here. I purposely do not pay for my children to go somewhere else to school because I love CL. I work at a neighboring school district, Clarion area, and my kids are here for a reason. I believe this is a quality school, and I want to be part of getting it back to where it used to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. James.
So I decided to run for this position to help bring some of my expertise to this board. There's a lot of great people on this board already, but my banking background, my position at Clarion University now, my interaction with the school board in different capacities has kind of led me to tonight. I do realize it would be a temporary situation for me and I'm just trying to make a positive impact. Thank you.
Thank you. Bob?
As I stated, excuse me, I want to make sure that we're moving forward with the best understanding of each challenge we're given. I want to see that the children that are growing up in this district grow with the same opportunities my children had. I don't want to see sales numbers fall because of problems we see online in meetings. I don't want to see the same conflicts that seem to explode outside of the building and give CL black eye in any way. I think it's a fantastic district. We chose it as a family over where I grew up because I know the teachers here are solid educators. I also know the board members care, and I want to continue that and mend any fences that are broken as well. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, number two, I'm going to ask Robin Henry. You'll be the first one to answer. The question is, what do you perceive to be the responsibilities of the school board?
I think the school board's main responsibility is the hiring and supervision of the superintendent, as well as making policies and be sure that the superintendent carries through with those with the administration and the teachers.
Thank you. Next, Mr. James.
I would agree with Rob, and I think Dave Eggleton hit it on the head earlier. I think it's oversight. I think the school board hires the superintendent, hires the administrators, and they are oversight. Dave mentioned a few meetings ago that the chain of command goes taxpayer, board, superintendent, and on down, and I agree with that. I think you've got to be very careful to not be too micromanaging of a style. I've never taught a school class. I have no intention to. I don't know that I could. But I can help with the oversight of many things with the experience that I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Louder.
I'm going to agree 100% with them as well. I've actually talked to a school board about that same thing. When things start to fail, we need to consider first administrative directive. School board members are not to deal with nuts and bolts. That's why we hire a superintendent, and they carry out our policies and our directives. If students are failing, we first look at our administration. Second, we look at our curriculum, and then we look at our staff and faculty and the process of what they're possibly undermining our curriculum, or what directives teachers have been given that they've had followed that maybe have failed our school district. We've dealt with that. I personally dealt with that in my place of employment, and I think that's something we need to take into consideration. I've not heard the school board make some negative comments that I've heard at other sessions in other districts, blaming teachers for failure. I did not hear that even with the discussion of the online. But we somehow, regardless of how we move forward with that we remember that there's a trail to follow, and we don't start at the bottom with the teachers. We start with administration and policies, and then curriculum and making sure we're meeting all those needs. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Boozer?
That was well said by the three that went before me, so I agree wholeheartedly with them. The purpose of the board is to set policy and ensure that the policies are followed, and also the hiring of administration.
Thank you. All right, question number three. Mr. Jameson, why don't you go first? How do you think the school district can improve students' academic achievement and the staff's professional development?
Could you repeat that again, Andy?
Absolutely. How do you think the school district can improve students' academic achievement and the staff's professional development?
Well, first, I think students' academic achievement starts with the student. The harder you work, the better your grades. And I think it starts with the student. It extends to the parents or extended family, whatever situation they are in. And I think for the most part, there's great teachers out here and are doing their job. So as far as what they can actually do better, I know of teachers that go way above and beyond. I'm going to cite one that's sitting out here tonight. I think she is, Miss Pierce. Works and works and works with these kids. So we need more of that. Again, no disrespect to any teacher, but there's a lot of that. As far as the second part was, Nathaniel, the second part was?
Second part was the staff's professional development.
I'd leave that up to the superintendent. You know, I think you know, with what I do, I seek out my own professional development. I'm sure teachers look at those things too, and administrators and superintendent, to see what might best fit for our school district. So, quite frankly, I would defer on that. I'm guessing the teacher will have a better answer for that one.
Thank you. Mr. Louder.
Could you repeat that, please?
Absolutely. And I didn't write this one, just so you know.
That's fine.
How do you think the school district can improve students' academic achievement and the staff's professional development?
I agree that the academic is a lot of personal, what's the word? The students have to take ownership of academics. When it comes to online in this day and age, we have to consider that as well. Administrators have to make sure that they're making the phone calls, getting these kids that are incomplete or not showing up to Google Classroom classes, online classes. We have to have some kind of way to communicate with those students and parents, and they have to be accountable for it 100%, period. Work has to be done in a timely manner. Teachers have to be given opportunity, if they're going to be teaching live and online. It is a double teaching method. If you're doing both, even though it's synchronicity or simultaneously, there is a lot more preparation. And from what I hear tonight, you guys have a plan for that. And this full-time sub, taking that load off the teachers is huge. As far as professional development, teachers should be surveyed regularly. 80 days should not be bound up with PowerPoints and videos to watch or anything like that. There should be some that helps them professionally, but also level meetings at the high school level, English department meetings, so that they can work together and make sure that they are in line with each other. Any weaknesses, they need time to meet with and discuss students that are having problems. You heard tonight that we have parents that have students that need more attention than others. We need to look at crisis intervention for some students, multi-tiered support systems for those that are, so that we do know kids. Do not push kids in special ed too early. Make sure our title programs are in support and working with our teachers grade level wise. And do what we can so we don't disable teachers by cutting back and making sure that we don't take away from educational opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you.
Could you repeat the question, please, one last time?
Yes. How do you think the school district can improve students' academic achievement and the staff's professional development?
I believe the onus is on the student itself and the parents to stay engaged. As far as the professional development, that I would defer to the administration as well. That's why we hire them.
I believe that they are very related, actually. I believe that, yes, part of it is the student, but I believe that the district needs to turn and ask their teachers. I think that very seldom teachers are given a voice. And if you go to teachers and ask them, what do you need? What can we help you with? And like Dave said, we've sat through many PowerPoint presentations all day long and Act 80 professional development days when we have 1,000 other things in the back of our brain that we need work on and we need to do better. And we're not given the time to do that as teachers. So I think that the district can improve it by asking your teachers what they need.
Thank you. All right, question number 4 is, what are the strengths of our school district? And I'm going to ask Mr. Louder to lead this one off. Question is, what are the strengths of our school district?
Strength of our school district. Starting at the top, passion of our school board members here tonight to make sure that they're researching. Second, presentation and preparation, I think it's too, Amy, and you showed that tonight. Our teachers, passion when they come against a school board and they have differences to resolve, moving forward professionally, I believe we do that. Our contact with the students on all levels is fantastic. I've seen that growing up outside of the school district with my father teaching here. I've seen it as my kids grew up. Great teacher and student relationships inside, outside, and extracurricular activities. I would like to see more moving forward of our faculty and staff getting involved in extracurricular programs, but I also know the commitment they have to education in the classroom. And we had no complaints with our three children, and the ability to get in contact with any of their teachers, set up any meetings we needed, and I have not heard or seen that fail yet here. Online, I do not have any background in seeing what we've done here as a district to communicate, but I'm hoping that communication is the same as it would be for any child that's in class and at home with parents.
Thank you, Mr. Boozer.
I think there's a lot of strengths here, starting with when I started attending board meetings last summer. The administration has been very professional in everything they do. Ms. Glassel, you are very prompt in sending out your emails and phone messages to inform the parents. The board as a whole is always very professional and courteous. And I know my daughter's only in first grade, so she's just getting started here, but the two teachers she has had so far have been wonderful and great.
Thank you.
I'm gonna be honest, I think the strengths are a little foggy right now. I think that if you go back a little while, I think you'll see the strength of your school district are your teachers and their ability to communicate with parents and feel like they are at their best. I think the school board and the teachers and the community need to come together and act as one and have more time to talk things out, and I think you will see the strength of the district come back to what it used to be.
Thank you.
Certainly tough to come up with an original idea when you're fourth. I think the strength is everything. Everything that Dave said, everything that Robin said, everything that Mr. Boozer said. You know, I've been to enough meetings to know it's been hell. I don't know how you guys have done it, quite frankly. You know, I've just been sitting in the audience, and I don't know how you guys don't go home just completely exhausted and whipped. But I think for the most part, there's professionalism, there's respect. Sometimes that could be revisited a little bit. I think that the teachers are passionate about what they do, otherwise they wouldn't be out here. You know, I called a teacher last month talking about the 5-day situation, and I said to this person who I've known for years, you know, could this work? I'm thinking forward, could this work? And she said, well, it couldn't work because of A, B, and C. Okay, and that's why I asked. But I think when you have collaborative thinking and collaborative working between board, administration, teachers, and students, let's not forget the students. You know, you have seniors that are going to be out in the workforce next year, that in 4 or 5 years are going to be out in the workforce themselves doing great things. So I think it takes everybody. So that's what I would say.
Okay. Moving on to question number 5. Question 5, you've all alluded to it, I think, is what are the challenges facing our district? I'm going to ask Mr. Louder to lead off this one. The question is, what are the challenges facing our district?
I did just go, just to point
Okay,
that.
go ahead.
Okay, challenges. Moving forward, constantly not moving back. Making cuts to staff does not work. thinking I want to leave a school board not losing money, but losing the educational opportunities. That's the worst thing we can do. And I've seen that happen in one district and not in another I've been part of. Not teaching, but as both a coach at one and a teacher at another. Make sure that we are taking every financial opportunity we can to better the education of these students and not thinking how much we have to cut a program, cut back the education, fill classrooms with more students rather than less. Our school district went through 15 retirements or move-outs. We hired 10 teachers to replace those 15. Our numbers went down. Now our classes are huge, and we've closed down a district or a building here somewhat, but we have to make sure we're not focused on losing opportunities for the student, cutting art programs or shop programs or things that CL offers that I don't see other districts offering. I would hate that to be a reason that we put finances above the student education. Other challenges we face obviously are where do we move forward from tonight, and can we get better setting for our tables? But when we have disagreements between board members, teachers, or administration and board members and staff, regardless, we're setting the policies. How are we going to make sure that tradition is going forward? How can we make sure that we want to make sure our administrators are getting those teachers to jump in and make sure our teachers are positive and sometimes we get things we don't want to hear. We get a judgment or a call against us and we don't like it. How are we going to be positive and move forward and make sure those students aren't affected? That's a huge challenge I think we have coming from tonight. And I hope to be part of that process if we need to be engaged as board members. But obviously we've talked about that's administrative night, and I hope that they are up to that challenge to make sure, and the teachers are up to that challenge, and regardless of what the decisions have been made, we're going to make the best of it. And we adapt on, as Dave Abelson said, after the 16th, we're going to have problems you're going to find out. And I'm surprised we didn't talk about it tonight, that the online live, getting into somebody's household, how that can disrupt the classroom, and getting nuts and bolts, I'm getting off track and I apologize. We need to make sure we set up a policy for something that might happen in the household that could affect that live, and what that live instruction and how we are to deal with that, and then how the administration is going to communicate with the homebound. So we've got a lot more challenges than you can imagine coming up. Thank you.
Ask Mr. Jameson to give a second.
And the question was?
What are the challenges facing our school district?
Well, I think a lot of the challenges have been addressed tonight, and I think we're at the tail end of that. And quite frankly, having attended nearly all of the meetings during this year and many years, but when there was all the discussion, the back and forth about remote, 5 days, 4 days, there's no right answer. There's no exact right answer, because as much as somebody could say, I talked to 50 people and they said this, somebody else could say, I talked to 50 people and they said the opposite. And you know what? They're both right. For their independent situation, they're right. And so how do you try to move forward? This is where your challenge is going to be in the next probably 6 to 8 weeks. How do you move forward, making as many people happy, and I use that term loosely, as you can, and give the same excellent education? These teachers, what they have to do is incredible, just incredible. I think, well, you just, synchronous learning, you just press a button, don't you, and play, and off you go. No, that's from a guy that's been sitting in the spare bedroom working from home for a year, having a Zoom meeting and letting the dog out. I don't do what they do, and God bless them, I don't think I could. So I think the nuts and bolts that are going to have to be addressed in the next couple weeks and going forward, once it's put into practice, will be the biggest challenge for the rest of this year.
Thank you, Mrs. Henry.
Go ahead and repeat it one more time. repeat it one more time.
Okay, sure, no problem. What are the challenges facing our school district?
I think bridging all the gaps that have been formed during this awful time. I think the gap that have been formed between the administration and the teachers, the school board and the teachers, the gaps in academics for the students, not only the ones that are going in person, but the ones that are virtual. I think there are just holes and gaps now everywhere, and I think bridging all those and filling in those holes is going to be a real challenge. And I think that if we all come together, the parents, the students, the teachers, the school board, the administration, I think that that can be done.
Thank you. Mr. Boozer? What are the challenges faced?
We heard a lot about it tonight, last meeting before this whole year. The challenges are great. And moving forward, we're going to have to come together and make this all work, the nuts and bolts, everything. And it'd be just great if the board, teachers, and administrators can all just come together and we can have open discussions and work this out.
Thank you. Question 6 on our list, everyone, is what qualities, skills, and experience would you bring to the board? I'm going to ask Mr. Jameson to start. I think you've already covered it. Is there anything else you want to add?
Probably not much, but yeah, you know, those of you that know me and may have dealt with me professionally, I was in banking for a number of years. Right now, I'm director of planned giving for diversity, so I work with money and people's money and keeping their assets to do what they want to do. But I think more than that, more than just being a numbers guy, a lot of people consider a numbers guy. I want to know why the numbers do what they do. I thought Doug Kepler had a great point tonight, and I look forward to that answer coming out at some point, just for the sake of we don't know. And but I think also what I would add, you know, the years I've been in Clarion, which has been over 30 years now, probably longer now, I've built a vast network of people. Probably not quite as vast as Mr. Eggleston, but pretty good network of people that you can bring people together. I will say that 2 years ago, a previous board had a real problem with the university and something about billing and whatnot for graduation, all that. And I helped to get that resolved. Not because I had to, but because I wanted to. Because what was going to happen was clearly nonsensical. And I'd like to deal in common sense, what makes sense for the most people and what can bring people together. Thank you.
Ms. Henry?
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. What qualities, skills, and experience would you bring to the board?
I would just reiterate, being an educator, I am absolutely passionate about education, and that is ultimately what we are here for. We are here to educate these students, whether it's life skills, academics, and I believe that my passion for education would allow me to give a different perspective that many of you would not have because you have not worked in the so-called trenches as a teacher and understand what we go through on a day-to-day basis. I also feel, though, that I am very open and I am a great listener, and I can listen to other people's opinions, and even if they are not my opinion, I can empathize with them and really understand where they are coming from.
Thank you. Mr. Boozer?
Some strengths that I would bring would be just having an open mind. In this position, you would need to be open-minded and listen to all sides to make the best decision possible, and all your constituents as well, to represent them in the best way possible.
Thank you. Okay, question 7. Sorry. I apologize. We want to hear from you.
I know. As a teacher and a coach for the last 22 years, I have a great great relationship with strategies at work with students. I've worked cooperatively with teachers and administrators on the job. I'm not an egotistical and arrogant person that thinks I'm a know-it-all and end-all be-all. I reach out when I'm being given a challenge as a teacher of one thing to do, reading research, not a reading teacher, not a reading specialist. At no time would I clap to try to get faculty accolades or to blow smoke up anybody's ear. But I'm a constant student self, and I want to take in all aspects before making a decision. And just like Ms. Henry said, if I don't agree, I'm still going to look at and weigh the pros and cons of both things. And if I'm swayed opposite of my original opinion, that may happen. If I'm passionate about it and I want to get more research, I'm going to look into it. I'm not going to be an arrogant person that doesn't do research. So as I heard for coaching and teaching, I will take the same stance as a school board member for the district.
Okay, now I think I'm ready for 7. Okay, 7, I'm going to start with Robin Henry. I'm going to have to repeat this, I know. I didn't write this one either. If you were faced with a tough issue as a board member, such as raising taxes or cutting programs, what kind of data would you need to help you make your decision?
Well, there's a lot of things that I would have to do. I would need to, first of all, probably talk to a lot of the actual taxpayers and how it would affect them personally. I am not a fan of cutting programs. I believe that CL has put itself in a very good position with money, that I don't foresee that coming down the line anytime soon. So I would hope that we would come up with other ways to get around a financial situation. And because cutting programs do not provide or even lend to your mission statement of providing the students to be, allowing them to be successful and prepared for life. So I think that we would work hard not to cut programs. And if we have to raise taxes as a whole, if we make that decision, then we just have to go with it and sit it.
Thank you. Mr. Boozer?
Could you repeat the question, please?
Absolutely. If you were faced with a tough issue as a board member, such as raising taxes and programs, what kind of data would you need to help you make your decision?
The data I would need would be coming from business administrator, just looking at all the facts, and then also talking to the constituents in my district. As far as cutting programs, I really hope that wouldn't need to be done. I'm not in favor of it either. According to my research, the district has roughly $4.7 million in surplus. And then this year with COVID, I know everything was tough, but all things considered, it looks like they've spent, or Yins have spent, $175,000 more than you've taken in, which, like I said, all things considered, I don't think that's too bad. So I would hope that raising taxes at this time be an option.
Okay, Mr. Rada?
The first thing I'd take into consideration is how many students would it affect in their education. Second thing I'd consider is there a way we can move money around that is being misused or not used in other areas? Third thing I would consider is, if we had to raise the taxes, what is the most minimum or minimal way we can do that? Also, back to programs, is there a way that we can incorporate that program in another facet, or have another educator or administrator somehow facilitate a way that we can get even 1 or 2 children that same experience if so needed? So, I think I answered that.
Yes, you did.
Thank you.
Mr. Jameson?
I would be very much opposed to cutting any programs that we have a good turnout for. Now, even if for 1 year you don't have much of a turn, you have to look down the road. There's always more students coming. But, you know, I think the school has done a very good job. If there's a $4.7 million reserve fund, and whether that's capital reserve or general reserve, I don't know, but there's money in the bank. And from what I have seen over the years, this school boards has not spent frivolously and has been very cautious with their money. So I think research, reaching out to people, talking to people, if it has to happen, it has to happen. But there would have to be a very, very good reason for either one of those things to happen.
Okay, question 8. Mr. Boozer, we'll start with you. What do you believe to be your biggest challenges as a board member? What would be your biggest challenges as a board member?
That's a good question. I think the biggest challenge would just work, trying to work together and work with everyone for a common goal here, and that's, the education of our children.
Thank you. Mr. Lauder.
Biggest challenge as a board member, again, I think would be to make sure that I'm coming up in open-minded every night, and then leaving anything that happened, let's say negatively or in a disagreement here, and not taking that home with me, but looking forward to researching and taking a new perspective the next day, not holding grudges and being bitter, but making sure that we understand we're all working towards the same goal regardless of our differences.
Thank you. Ms. Jameson.
I think a potential challenge would be making sure you have enough information, especially on, again, tonight's presentation. That's a big decision. That's a big vote. And I think just whatever comes your way, you're going to hear this one, you're going to hear that one, but you have to come loaded with as much information you can to make a decision that is best for the majority. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Henry.
Although I think it would be a challenge, it's not something that I don't feel I couldn't handle, but I feel that having the time to properly research and get out there and ask questions and talk to students and talk to parents and talk to teachers to be sure that when I have to make a decision and vote that I'm making the right one for the majority. I think that would be a challenge with life in general, but it would be something that I would definitely tackle.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Henry, I'm going to ask you the next question first. This is 9 on our list.
That's great.
And I think this is right in your wheelhouse. It worked out. I asked Donna who to pick, so this is right in your wheelhouse here.
Okay.
We and Mr. Lauder both. What are the biggest challenges facing public education today?
Absolutely everything that comes down from the state. I don't feel that teachers have enough input. It's a challenge. Teachers think about it in the morning when they would get out of bed. Teachers think about it all day long while they're teaching, and they go to bed thinking about everything that's passed down from the state. It is a challenge every day to put aside possibly your personal beliefs on the situation and what the state passes down that maybe, people who've been out of education for a long time have made the decision and have put it on the shoulders of the teachers to do, and I think that that's a challenge sometimes.
Thank you. Mr. Jameson, we'll go to you. What are the biggest challenges facing public education today?
Well, Robin hit it right on the head. I mean, as soon as government got involved in education years ago, there's a challenge. And it's wonderful. Those of you that have ever worked for a large company, you can appreciate, you're in the trenches. Somebody from marketing at the home office who's never seen a customer in their life sends something down the food chain, and you who deal with customers every day know that, well, this won't work, you know? It's the same with PDE, with national, with federal. If we get government out of education, which will never happen, it would be a lot better off.
Thank you. Mr. Louder.
Could you repeat one more time?
Yes. What are the big challenges facing public education today?
On top of what was already stated with mandates and core curriculum and all things, supporting the teachers and making sure that there's communication between administration and the teachers and what they need. Understanding of what it's like in the classroom versus what it's like in that ideal bubble of what needs to be taught, what the curriculum demands, and schedules that are mandated down. For example, curriculum schedules, where if I walk into your classroom on Tuesday, March 3rd, you should be teaching this, but knowing that the teachers have to make adaptations constantly to fit student needs. Another challenge is meeting the needs of students with so many more disabilities and needs than what we had growing up. And the constant change in those adaptations and support systems. Kids have ADHD, ADD, kids have autism now, kids have Asperger's, kids have emotional needs. Are we meeting them? Are they in the district they should be in? Are we meeting that exact need, or should they be somewhere else? Are they taking away from our in-class? Do we have the staff to do that? And we have to make that. No, we don't. Board members don't. The administration, teachers have to make sure that they're meeting all those student needs individually, and they're supporting the teachers that have to deal with those students. It's immense out there.
Mr. Boozer.
To expound just a little bit upon the three excellent answers that were just given, I couldn't really say it better myself. Yes, the state mandates that have come out, as a state employee myself, I deal with it on a daily basis. Harrisburg comes up with these things and you just shake your head. But you got to work within it the best you can.
Thank you. And the last question on our list, I think we had answered, just to expedite enough, you could just clarify for me. The question is, have you submitted your petition to be on the ballot? And I understand that, Mr. Boozer, you have, yes. Ms. Henry, you have, is that correct?
I haven't yet.
You have not submitted your
No,
petition?
I'm waiting till tomorrow.
Okay.
To clarify, yes, I have mine in possession, I am going to submit it.
Could you come up so everybody can hear you?
No, sorry.
So we'll start with you, Mr. Boozer, and give you a chance to answer. The question is, have you submitted your petition to be on the ballot?
I said I did. I am going to. They're in possession. I will be dropping them off this week.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Henry?
I have not even picked up my packet yet. I was waiting until tonight to make that decision because I feel that the person that gets on the board, fill this position, I feel should actually be the one to stay in that position. And I just, if I'm not, I don't know, I just feel like if I'm not good enough now, then I've already run once and didn't make it. And if I don't get on this time, I'm good. I'll just be a parent in the audience, so.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Jameson, I think you explained your position before, right?
I have not, and I am not, which, quite frankly, with all due respect to three great people here with me, I think makes me the best candidate, because otherwise you are basically endorsing somebody that, so there's at least three people in Limestone Township running. I'm going to guess that Kathy Henry is. I'm not speaking for her. I don't know. And I don't know if anyone else is. My guess, they probably would have put their name in for this. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Louder?
I will be soon. I'm collecting my final petitions, signature.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that's the end of our pre-printed questions. At this point, any boarder, if you'd like to ask questions again, just please let me know, raise your hand, do something. Okay, go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, this is a little long, but bear with me. School boards are elected government officials that set the budget, hire, approve curriculum, and many times ultimately have to make some tough decisions. As you see, the state puts out directives and mandates that one-size-fits-all districts. Do you believe the local governing body should have the final authority for their local school district?
And Donna, would you select one person to go first, please? Mr. Boozer, would you please answer the question first?
Yes, I think they should have the final say. Something that's good for Pittsburgh isn't maybe good for here, and vice versa. You know, you can't lump everything into as a whole, and the state, the Commonwealth is so vast. You need to be able to. They need to understand that yes, something for CL here might not be better for somewhere else.
Thank you. Ms. Henry?
I think we've actually just kind of experienced that with COVID. I think that the local should absolutely have the decision, using recommendations, from the state, when, everybody was shut down out east and things like that. We were still okay here. And in my opinion, we didn't need to shut down yet. So I think that knowing your community, knowing your people, knowing what they need, knowing your students, I think that we should be able to make that decision according to our needs.
Thank you, Mr. Jamerson.
It should absolutely be left up to the local districts. I believe we have 500 school districts Commonwealth. It makes no sense that everything can come down as a one-size-fits-all in Harrisburg.
Mr. Louder.
I agree. Only I was going to say one shoe size does not fit all. So, but I agree. The local body should. We're the ones that are in touch with what's going on in our communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other board member have a question they'd like to ask? Okay. We're done with item D, the interviews. Thank you, candidates. Now, I was faced with of course, I'm sitting in this chair, so they asked me what to do. How do we do? I mean, thank you all for applying. It's great that we have 4 people willing to donate time, because it is absolutely a thankless job and a time commitment. As I think, Robin, you alluded to that. So we have to come up with a process. So what I'm proposing to do, and this is open for if somebody else has a different idea, as I'm all ears, but what I think we should do is entertain nominations from the board based on the candidates. And then once we determine who the nominations are, there could be anywhere from 1 to 4. And then we will establish an order for voting on them. And then at any time, once we vote and we have 5 members in support of it, then that's the candidate and they would be seated. What's that? That would be to order the voting. Because we can't, as I understand the law, is we have to have a vote. All the votes have to be public for everyone to know how we can't have any sort of a secret ballot as far as what board member voted for what candidate. I didn't think it was fair to the candidates or the board to just do a random selection of who first, because again, the first time we get 5 votes, it's going to be the next board member. And so I thought that that's how we could balance the scale and still keep everything kosher, was to say, well, among the nominees, how do we want to order them as a board? We'll go around and have everyone put their preference, and we'll tabulate the preference, and whoever is the preferred candidate as far as the ordering, they'll be voted first. Does that make sense to everybody? Dave, do you have anything to add?
We have a packet.
You have this, all the candidates on this orange page in your folder. I guess the question is, do we want to do the nominations, or you just want to order the candidates and vote that way? Do you want to do that way? What's the board's will? The question I posed was, do you want to go through the nomination process, or just assume that they're all nominated and then just order them and vote them accordingly? Rebecca's comment, but she thinks in her opinion everyone's nominated. Does anyone have any opposition to that? Okay, do you understand what I'm asking you to do, board members? I'm asking you to take this sheet of paper, and I'm asking you to write on the right-hand side your preference from 1 to 4 of the 4 candidates. And again, what that's going to dictate is the order in which we vote them. Does everyone understand? Once you're done, please submit them, pass them down to Donna.
Well, you just got it.
Okay, we'll take a minute here and Donna and I'll tabulate the vote count and I'll tell everybody the order we're going to vote and we'll vote.
Thank you all, by the way. I really appreciate it. You won't get rich doing this either.
I'm in it for the money.
Things go to the career center. Now, what was his point?
Okay, here's the order in which we're going to vote. The first vote is going to be for Robin Henry. The second vote is going to be for David Lauder. And the fourth vote is going to be for Larry Jameson. And again, that's any successive votes that board members understand. As soon as you get 5, there's going to be no more votes. Everyone understands that, right? I didn't say Mr. Boozer. I'll go through the list again. Robin Henry is going to be voted first. Mr. David Lauder is going to be voted second. Mr. Christopher Boozer is going to be voted third. And Mr. Jameson is voted fourth, but I want to make that clear. That's only to the extent we need it. And honestly, we'll keep going through this too, because we have to have 5 votes. So basically, if your favorite candidate is lower in the list, you have to vote no to the people in front of them. Does everyone understand that? Roger, you give me a weird look. You all good? Joe, are you good with this? Yep. Dave, you good? Okay, here we go. Donna, roll call vote, please, for the appointment of, initially, it's going to be Robin Henry as the Regional Limestone Township Strattonville Borough School Board Director to fill a vacancy created by the resignation of David Sherman.
Yes. Joe Valona?
No.
Dave Eggleton?
Yes.
Daniel Parker?
Yes.
Roger Powell?
Yes.
Gary Stoll?
No.
So that was a 4-2 vote. I have a parliamentary question for Donna. Hang on just a second. All right, this is my understanding. I misspoke when I said 5 votes. If you want to revote it, I'll revote it. I told you you had to have 5 votes. That's our normal majority, but not only do we only have 8 members, but we have 2 people not here. So we only have 6 members here, so it's 4, not 5. So that vote right there was a majority vote of the board. And Donna and I believe that that's it, that Robin Henry is seated. Does anyone have any objection to that?
It's the majority board, not the sitting board, is that correct?
Correct, that's what Don and I were talking about. That's the question. I believe it's the majority of those present. And again, we have 6 members present, so 4 members would be a majority. We're double checking this to make sure. We want to get it right.
While they're double checking, and I want to comment, I've never seen such 4 qualified board members apply at one time. And I think a lot of us could have voted yes to any of you. Or all.
And you all down there know that there's 2 seats that are open in Limestone?
I've asked Amy to call a solicitor to verify, just to make sure we do it right, because we want to do it right and be solid in that.
How do your bylaws read?
What's that?
How do your bylaws read?
I can't hear.
How do your bylaws read?
I still can't hear you.
What do the bylaws say?
I don't believe it speaks to that specific issue, but Donna and I are reading through different sections here.
Larry, did you Google it yet? Didn't you Google it yet? I don't know. If they read them to me, I could tell you the answers. I did not. No,
Larry, to answer your question, our policy, I'm thinking the number, I don't have the number. It says in voting, all motions are required for adoption a majority vote of those school directors present and voting, except provided by statute or board procedures. And that's why we're going to call back from the solicitor to make sure there's no Pennsylvania law that says otherwise. But internally, it looks like it reads as a majority present, which that would be the majority. I'm sorry for the delay. ready to proceed, but I don't want to go without Donna. I get in trouble for doing that, I believe. What's that? She's checking for another book. She thought she had some other information on it, but in the meantime, we have a solicitor to give us the answer. I'm going to go and explain, but we won't go forward with anything else. Our internal policy says it's majority of those present. The solicitor I spoke with, he's told me there's a section of the law that says that we have to have a majority of the remaining board members. So that would be 5. That would be the 5 that I talked about. So we will need to continue voting. We will need to continue voting because there was only 4. The last vote was 4-2. So while a majority of those present, it was not a majority of those still on the school board. And that's what the solicitor said is required. I mean, we can talk now before we go forward, because I'm not going to vote with Donna, of course. But my thought is, let's go through each of the 4 candidates, let's vote it. If we get 5 tonight, we're done. If not, we could maybe table this and vote, correct, vote with the full board. Because the solicitor did say there's no obligation to seat tonight. We did the interviews, and we can just vote when we can reconvene.
And we're still within our 30 days of the 17th, is that correct?
I don't know that without looking at the calendar.
When did Dave resign? What date was it?
It would be in time for the next meeting.
We'd be okay?
I know Peter said it, yes, that's the technical requirement, but he also said he didn't do it as, in his experience, he didn't turn into a pumpkin at midnight on the 31st day. But theoretically, somebody could file a petition at that point and raise the issue legally. But you're saying within the 30 at the next meeting? Okay. Did Amy? Okay, Donna, bring me back up to see who's second. I believe it's Mr. Louder. Okay, so we're going to do a roll call vote now on David Louder.
No. Yes.
Yes. Okay, we have the same voting result of 4-2 yes, which again is not the 5 votes needed. Number 3 is Christopher Booth. Roll call vote, please.
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
No.
Okay, we need another 4-2 vote, correct? Okay. Okay, the fourth and final vote for tonight, unless someone objects, which we can't revote. If you guys want to revote, just speak up. When we want to revote, we'll revote. That's how this works in Robert's Rule. You just keep going until you get somebody. I just don't think anybody wants to stay any longer. All right, this is our final vote for tonight, unless somebody, again, wants to redo it. It is for Larry Jameson. Donna, roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 And we have another 2 vote. Does anyone on the board have any objection or want to throw in an idea? Do you want to revote? Does anybody want to suggest anything? My proposal would be is we table this until the next meeting when we have the full board here. Well, I don't know if I'm allowed to make the motion. Do you want to make that motion, Joe?
Sure.
Okay, so Joe has made a motion that we table the item E, the appointment of someone to fill the vacancy until our next regularly scheduled meeting. Is there a second to that motion? Roger, we have a second. Any further discussion? We're going to do a voice vote here. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed, say no. Okay, so table that issue. And that's the last item on the agenda, because we're not going to issue anyone the oath of office.
For adjournment?
Motion for adjournment has been made. Is there a second? Second. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Meeting adjourned.